So I had the great privilege of attending World of Learning in Birmingham last week. It was my first time attending. So I thought I'd do a little piece to camera about my experiences. I've done a more detailed breakdown of 4 key areas of things that I identified. In terms of the conference itself, I really enjoyed it. I think I found the majority of the sessions really interesting. They were relevant to both me, but also I would say to charities. And also really inspiring. So in terms of my key highlights, I think the real key theme throughout the whole of the conference was around performance, organisational performance and individual performance. But actually we kind of kicked off the conference with a much bigger story from Robert Peston around the UK's performance and how vitally important it is that we improve productivity. So he gave us some really stark figures around how we lag as a nation behind most countries in the world. And really his view is that the only way to dig ourselves out of this cost of living crisis and improve the living standards for everyone within the country is that we must improve our productivity, and that investment in that improvement and that growth is absolutely key. He talked a lot about the kind of new government, whether or not he felt they were going to achieve, this mission. And I suppose in summary, some of it was way over my head, but in summary, really it was around the idea that they are going to get closer to what he believes is the solution, but probably not going to go as far as we need. So, obviously we will see what happens there. And the keynote on the second day, on the Wednesday, this kind of theme around performance really kind of came through. This was a session by Carrie O'Neill and Gaston Caron from Ipsos. And that was around the research that they've been doing around what performance-driven organisations are. And they had some fascinating research, really interesting statistical analysis. And they were finding some really interesting strong links between the level of availability of training against short-term sickness and how much that training reduced sickness and therefore also improved productivity. They were looking at the importance of seeing and hearing leaders within the organisation and the impact that that had on engagement, which leads to productivity and performance, but also on absence, which obviously reduces that. And then the final one that I thought was quite interesting was that they have managed to find a tangible link between the financial benefit of high-performing teams and leaders. So they were able to show statistics around, the stark difference between high-performing teams and the bottom line and what that means financially versus low-performing teams. Obviously, it wouldn't be a conference, an L&D conference, without talk of AI. And so it was mentioned in pretty much all the sessions, even if it was a kind of a throwaway joke. But I wanted to talk specifically about a session by Julian Stodd, who frankly is, to me, one of the most kind of interesting and exciting commentators on AI that I've seen. Now, I can't begin to tell you all the things that Julian covered. I have never been in a session where I wanted a pause button more. He says the most profound statements that resonate deeply with you. And you just want to pause that session. You want to think, you want to reflect, you want to kind of, it's a real aha moment. But then we barrel into the next one and the next profound statement. So I was constantly typing, I was constantly like having aha moments. But, in a way that was so fast, it made my head spin. One thing I did want to note, which was less profound, but I just thought was a really, amusing anecdote, really was this idea that, we talk a lot in L&D that there is no stupid questions. Ask me anything in the training, there's no stupid questions, every question is valid. And Julian's take was there are some really stupid questions, but we have the power now of Gen AI. So there's no excuse. You should ask Gen AI before you ask people. That was a kind of a powerful way to reflect on some of the practical things that it can do for us. Probably the least profound thing he said, but the thing that did make me chuckle. So the last thing I wanted to mention was a session by Matthew Smith from Nesta. Now, Nesta are a really interesting social enterprise organisation. And what they've been doing, what he was talking about, was a new induction solution, really, that they had come up with. And what were they planning to do was to actually create experiences rather than induction sessions. So instead of running this half-day session where all the different leaders come in and tell them about their department, what he had created was this kind of mini research project. What Nesta do is very structured around research. And so what you do is you're actually engaging with key functions to complete this research project, therefore meeting them, but meeting them while you do the activity that they do. It's kind of, really clever kind of meta experience. So it's much more exciting for the learner. It's much more engaging for the people who are supporting, the people that are coming in from the the key departments. So rather than just standing there and talking, they're actually doing their role in this kind of mini version. And the other thing that was really interesting was the way in which they had aligned that experience with their values, which are incredibly important to them. And so that was weaved in really, really seamlessly. So as I said, more details are available in the Charity Learning Consortium LinkedIn post, where I've gone into a bit more depth. But kind of in summary, would I go again? Absolutely, I would. It's a small conference, but it's really easy to navigate. It's really informal. But with really high class and quality speakers. So lots of opportunity to ask questions, which aren't necessarily possible in a really big conference. Really easy to engage with other delegates, and a really seamless link with the exhibition. The conference is inside the exhibition, so it's really easy to move from a conference session to an exhibition session, which I really enjoyed, because I do really enjoy exhibition sessions, which can be much more practical and kind of this is what we did versus that more theoretical. So yeah, really would recommend it, and I hope you found this useful.